What's up, everybody? And today we're checking out how Israeli commandos hit deep in Iran. This is by the legendary military news channel, Kapi Army. There's been loads of developments going on constantly with this. As of right now, there's an update where I guess Iran says that they're going to do something tonight that shocks the world. Part of me is like, yeah, I mean, we get false threats from Russia and Iran and all these people all the time, and then nothing ever happens. But at the same time, there's never a 0% chance that nothing happens. So I'm thinking about all the lads and lasses, all the troops out there, all the civilians out there that might get caught up in this stuff. I'm hoping that that's not the case, and I'm hoping nothing happens and it de-escalates. But before we get started, obviously I will leave a link down below as well to Kapi Army's videos. You should totally go over there, give it a like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Before we start, check out Chug, 10% off, link down below if you want the best drinking vessel in the world. Have you started to do the same thing as I've done as I get older, where I really start to look for, if I want to buy something like a pan, a new frying pan, I buy a cast iron because I want it to last for the rest of my life. Like I want to buy things that genuinely last a long, long time, right? And I'm seeing that with my clothing, with everything. This is one of them. This is a purchase where you know for a fact, it's solid, it's handmade. You know for a fact, if you look after this, it will last a lifetime. They're phenomenal. 10% off, link down below. You're not going to get a better deal anywhere else. Highly recommend it. People are loving them. People are loving them. Also, if you haven't noticed what I'm wearing, look what I'm wearing. The morale hoodie. If you backed the Kickstarter for a hoodie, this is it, guys. This is it. Let me give you a little twirl. Let me give you a twirl. Look at this. Got morale on the back. Look at that. It's really good quality. Like, it's a nice fleece in the inside. Like, the fleece on the inside's so soft. Super warm. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm hoping you can. It's a fit. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. Look at me. Holding the can. Wearing the sweatshirt. Got it in the background. Oh, it's all kicking off with morale. New episode of Morale Boost coming out on Friday as well. The Morale Podcast. I'm super excited. You know how excited I am. This hoodie, I've been waiting for this to come through the post forever. It's even got like, this is like legit, right? Like I've not just gone to, one of them t-shirt and hoodie printing stores and just bought on demand. This is legit. Like we've got, where is it? Like the tags are like legit morale tag. Let me show you the tags that it comes with. Oh, one second. I'll be right back. Like it comes with proper tags on it, proper like this is official clothing. This is not like Teespring. This is not like cheap. This is official, high quality, and I'm very, very, very impressed with the quality of the clothing that we've got. If you go over to the Instagram, the Drink Morale Instagram link down below, you will see by the end of today a reel or some sort of pictures or something with me modeling this sweatshirt, even though I'm not really a model, and the mother of my children, my wife, modeling the t-shirt. So check it out. Drink Morale. Other than that, let's shut up. Let's pull this up, right? We've got a lot to talk about here with what's going on in Iran, because it's kicking off. It's getting worse. It's not slowing down. We've got threats happening. We've got Trump saying no surrender. They've got to immediate surrender. We've got Iran saying they'll never surrender. We've got people saying we don't want to be dragged into another war unnecessarily. This is Israel's war to fight. They're all the updates we've got, and I'm sure by the time this video goes out, there might be more updates. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be watching Kapi Army's video about specifically the Israeli commandos and how they hit deep in Iran.
Israel just went ham on Iran. Today, we're going to learn how Mossad intelligence agents on the ground inside Iran sabotage their enemy's most precious assets.
Is that loud enough?
The gigantic 200 aircraft air campaign overhead, a battle damage assessment of both forces' attacks, and what this might mean for the balance of power in the entire region.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Kapi Army. I'm an Iraq veteran and war correspondent. We make weekly videos about wars, weapons, and geopolitics.
Which, honestly, if you like watching the news, like I know a lot of people watch these with me because they like the discussion. They like me breaking it down. They like the discussion that I have, this conversation. Which, by the way, the last video that I put up, I thought the comments were going to be an absolute hellhole, but this surprisingly wasn't. There was a very civil conversation in there. I'm very anti go to war with Iran, right? There's a lot of people that are like, no, we should be supporting Israel. Like, there's loads of different viewpoints. But what I was pleasantly surprised at is usually when you get a video like that, the comment section are usually horrendous. And it wasn't. And I think that's a testimony to the community that we've built on this channel. The conversations that were happening and the DMs I got, even with people who have completely different views than me, it was beautiful because it's them conversations that help you grow as an individual, right? So shout out to all them people in the previous video commenting with incredibly good views. Even if they were like saying, no, Luke, you're wrong here. I love them comments. I want to be proven wrong. I want to change my thought process, right? Like I like them challenges. So keep the discussion going. But what I was going to say something else about Capiyama, about how good they are. People like me breaking it down, but they are absolutely fantastic for news and military updates. I honestly cannot recommend this channel enough.
The first thing you need to know is the Israeli ground sabotage took place in 3 phases. Phase 1 started 8 months ago when Israeli operatives from Mossad were already inside Iran, living under fake identities. This is when they began work on the mission. For months, they covertly smuggled in drones and explosives through the borders.
Wow.
Ordinary
Is this going to be very similar to what happened in Ukraine, in Russia?
Vehicles were then modified in country so they could launch attack drones.
This is going to become a common occurrence. This is what happened in Ukraine with Russia. In Russia with Ukraine. It's the same thing that happened. This is going to become a common occurrence.
For attack drone platforms. These disguised, weaponized trucks were then parked at key locations throughout Iran.
Wow.
Each one was placed within 20 kilometers of their target so that they were within range. They were focused on knocking out Iran's SAM sites. This means Israeli intelligence was able to get a fix on the location of Iran's radar network and their anti-air systems.
Wow.
And they were able to penetrate perimeter security to get close enough with these vehicles. So on the morning of Friday the 13th, these drones were
on Friday the 13th. Wow.
Activated, and they flew out the backs of the vehicles to their targets, destroying air defense assets and crippling Iran's air protection. I would say that this is unlike anything we've ever seen before. I would say that this is unprecedented. But this is literally exactly what we just saw Ukraine did with their drones in Russia.
It's literally the exact thing. This is going to become very common, and I think now that this has happened a second time, we're going to see new restrictions and patrolling and new intelligence when it comes to vehicles around bases. That's what I think we're going to see.
Like a week ago. Now, phase 2 of the attack, though, makes this very different than what we saw in Russia. Because at the same time as all this attack drone tomfoolery was happening inside Iran, a covert group of Israeli Special Forces commandos infiltrated on the ground into central Iran, possibly by stealth helicopters or cargo planes that were seen operating in Syria later that day. The commandos avoided local security as they made their way to the remote locations in the desert.
I don't know much about Israeli Special Forces. The commandos, like I was, so you can't really have the commando title attached to you unless you're a really good soldier. We know that from different places around the world. And it comes from the commandos that were formed in the British military during the war. So to have the commando title attached, they must be really good soldiers.
Their mission was to destroy Iranian anti-air missile systems. The soldiers used Spike non-line-of-sight missile launchers, which means those mad lads infiltrated to within 30 kilometers of their target.
Damn.
The team of agents fired these remote-controlled munitions and steered them mid-air straight into the air defense systems, knocking them out.
Wow.
Spike missiles have very little signature when they're fired, meaning they're not that as loud or as much of a thermal signature as some other weapon systems, which allows them to stay undetected. This system is a perfect tool for the job, since it can be launched from indoors and from concealed spots. The fire and forget mode basically allows the operator to accurately guide that round midair onto the surface-to-air missile systems that they were targeting. So Spike missiles have a hit probability of over 95%, and they
95%? That's a pretty solid percentage right there, isn't it? Wow.
have a margin of error of less than 1 friggin' meter. I had all
less than 1 meter? Yo, that's a very impressive bit of kit, isn't it?
that done in 3D and animated, because stuff doesn't make sense to me if I can't see it visually. But these ground attacks were only the beginning phase of this insane operation, because wait till you see what they have cooked up next. If you're someone posting spicy political memes online, your personal information is probably already exposed.
I'm gonna have to skip the ad, even though that's hilarious, guys.
Back to the episode. I know some people prefer to have some IRL proof. Since then, we've learned Iran is warning that these vehicles are what Mossad used. We also believe that they used pickup trucks, smaller vehicles than basically what we saw in Ukraine. So we can see here, actual thermal video footage was released by Israel of their commandos on the ground in Iran using night vision goggles and what appears to be thermal blankets that conceals their thermal signature if they were going to be spotted by Iranian security forces. The fact that Israel released this video footage of their spies operating on Iranian soil is for a reason, I think.
Well, also, the reasons are definitely going to be there, but it also shows how capable these individuals are. You got, like I said, you've got to be a good soldier to be able to do this type of stuff, and to have the commando attached to you, you've got to be good, but to also be able to go in an enemy territory like this with confidence and succeed in the mission, whether you agree with the mission or not, but to succeed in a mission like that, they've got to be good soldiers. Even if, that's the thing that people don't realize, even if you disagree with Israel, even if it was Iran that did this, even if it was a country that you are against, you have to respect the soldiers if they have capabilities of stuff like this, because then you understand what you're up against or what you've got on your side.
Normally, spy agencies bend all the way over backwards to keep their sources and methods under wraps. The likely reason that they chose to reveal this because they wanted to show how ineffective Iran's security is and how they operate with impunity. These agents could have exfiltrated out of there, because I'm always curious about, you go to one of the most dangerous spots, how do you get out of there? I get that they got into there, but how do you get out? So it might have been by helicopter, since Iran's air defense maybe couldn't have picked them up like they did with the Syrian missile-based raid that they conducted about a year ago. So it's possible cargo aircraft could have picked them up. We saw them flying over Syria the next day. Maybe they recovered them. It appears to me and everyone watching that Israel's going for full-on raw dog regime change. All right, let's go into phase 3 of the ground sabotage.
That's the thing. They called it something like Operation Rising Lion, right? Or something like that. And that's because they want the regime change, and the flag was a lion or something before that, or something like that. I don't know. Someone will be able to comment down below. But the goal is to change the regime, isn't it? That's the ultimate goal for Israel within Iran.
It's probably the most insane of them all. Since at least 2024, Israeli undercover agents have been working on secretly building a kamikaze drone base inside the heart of the city of Tehran. So they didn't even put it in a mobile launcher site. They were just building it under their noses, right on their soil the whole time. This was carefully placed right on the outskirts of the city. They call it a base, but it was likely a house, and almost certainly in violation of their HOA. Inside the house, there were attack drones programmed to fly at the nearby Iranian base of Esfe Jabad. This is one of the most well-protected, highly sensitive bases, because it's where they have a number of their long-range ballistic missile launchers. The drones were remotely activated by agents in the middle of the night at around 3 a.m. They struck the missile base, and then additional kamikaze drones appear to have targeted high-value generals and scientists living in Tehran. Israel tricked some of Iran's top commanders into gathering in the same place for a meeting. They did this by studying their movement patterns, and then they were able to eliminate them all in this way, according to Israel.
Like that. Whether you agree with Israel or not, that's a very well-planned mission that was executed very well. I think it does go to show how bad Iran is with their intelligence department, thinking that something like this could happen right under their noses. And I think it goes to show how confident Israel are when it comes to this type of stuff. And again, we can talk about this objectively. I know there's a lot of people, I've seen it in the last video, there's a lot of people who are with Israel, a lot of people who are against them. I said personally that I think a lot of people are starting to really turn their backs on Israel because of what they've been up to. But you cannot deny how impressive something like this is. Even if it was done by your enemies, it's impressive that they were able to achieve this, whether you agree with them or not.
The goal was to nerf Iran's retaliatory capabilities. The explosive one-way drones targeted surface-to-surface missiles that were going to retaliate against Israel based on what they'd seen happen in the past. This sabotage took them a year to smuggle commandos and weaponry through their borders.
Wow.
This paved the way for what would happen next. Once Iran's air defense had been hit hard, a massive coordinated air campaign involving 200 Israeli fighter jets attacked. Israel deployed a mix of F-35s, F-16s, and F-15s. They likely traveled through Syria, which right now has limited to no air defense. The F-35s used external fuel.
I do want to also say there's an update from Trump saying that Israel and America have complete dominance over Iran airspace. And it's hilarious because Iran put out a statement saying that they have dominance over Israeli airspace, which is hilarious and is probably why they tried to destroy the internet in Iran so that people couldn't fact check this type of stuff. But I don't think either of them are correct. I think if anything, Israel probably would have the advantage over Iran. I don't think they've got total dominance, but I do think they would probably have the advantage. With that being said, if Israel's are able to do something like this, we know Iran is a relatively developed country. Some of the places in Iran are genuinely beautiful. But I think it goes to show how much they are lacking in this instance. And again, like I said, I don't want to have another war. I don't want to send my boys, whether US lads or British lads, out on the ground, boots on the ground in Iran, because lads will get killed. It's just the way it will be. But you cannot... but we've got to sit back and we've got to objectively talk about this. And I think it just goes to show how bad Iran's intelligence and military actually is. They might have this threat that they've got tonight. They said there's a threat tonight that's going to shake the world. Whether it will or not, I don't know. Even if they did something absolutely insane, I think that would be the highest extent that they could probably do. Do you know what I mean?
Fuel tanks likely to extend their range at the cost of stealth. They launched GBU-31 500-pound JDAM precision bombs designed to hit specific targets.
JDAM.
In total, they fired something like 330 munitions so far.
330?
Now, that was an old estimate as well, so it's probably much higher now. Their special forces had destroyed the city's air defense. The jets had air superiority. They could operate with impunity.
Wow.
There was reportedly very little activity seen from Iranian air defense. The Israeli Air Force reportedly flew SEAD missions, which are suppression of air defense. So they destroyed around a dozen radars, and then we'll get into the battle damage assessment later of how many air defense systems were destroyed, but it's a friggin' lot.
Wow.
The fighter jets were able to penetrate deep into Iranian airspace and launch their standoff missiles at individual targets. These could have been fired from up to about...
This is how much more successful this was compared to anything that Russia's done in Ukraine. Like, 5 years ago, before Russia invaded Ukraine, you would consider Russia more of a dangerous country than Israel. But this one mission, from what I can see, is more successful than any mission that Russia's done so far against Ukraine, isn't it? It's very impressive what they've been able to do here. And again, you don't have to agree with them or not. You don't have to like them or not. You can still sit back and be like, that was a successful mission. They did really well there, didn't they? Especially from the comfort of our homes here in England and America, right?
About 400 kilometers or 250 miles away and could have hit individual buildings. The F-35s hit residential apartment buildings in Tehran, which is an escalation compared to what we've seen happen in the past. Nuclear facilities and missile production bases were hit. Over 100 different targets inside Iran were hit during 5 waves of airstrikes. This hit the Natanz nuclear site and targeted their ballistic missile sites at Bid Kana. That's where several of their missile development and production facilities are located.
I did see something where they said that it wasn't actually, they hit them, but it wasn't as effective, the hits, as what Israel are saying. We have to remember, with what's going on with Israel, Palestine, Israel, Iran, more than any time ever, and even in Ukraine, Russia, there's going to be so much fake news, so much AI-generated content, so much of it. We've got to be very, very careful with what we believe and take everything with a pinch of salt, okay? Even the stuff I'm saying, and so, like, anything that I say, and people challenged me in the last video, which I really appreciate, I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. And being challenged with that type of stuff so that I actually sit down and be like, all right, that, you know, say that I say a fact, right? Let's say there was a rumor going around that Iran shot down an F-35, which is ridiculous. But let's say I repeated that statement on here, Iran shot down an F-35, right? Having people in the comments be like, you should be checking on that, Luke, because that's not 100%. I understand it's my job to say everything as correct as I possibly can. But even when I try, even when I do the research, even when I try and be as correct as possible, I'm still going to make mistakes. I'm still going to slip up. So having them discussions, good discussions in the comments, having each other check each other and keep each other accountable, I think super important. It's super important. So, and it's going to be more important with this war than any other war we've done in the past. With Afghan, Iraq, any of them ones, for the most part, you were getting fed media, and that media that you were seeing in Afghan and Iraq was what the country you lived in wanted you to see. And so it could be very biased, but it's the news you got. Whereas now with the internet, it's much different. So we've just got to stay on top of each other. And as a community here on Original Human, as a community, we need to boost each other up and constantly help each other get the best, most accurate news possible. All right, guys? So let's hold each other accountable for that.
Here on the map, you can see all the locations that were confirmed to be hit. This has been the first few days in what we anticipate will very likely, very possibly be a weeks-long air campaign of multiple sorties by Israel and Iran, according to word from their officials.
Yeah.
The Institute for the Study of War stated, strikes that destroy components of Iran's air defense systems will cause a temporary disruption to Iranian defenses that would enable Israeli fourth-generation non-stealthy aircraft to operate in Iranian airspace with greater ease.
Temporary. You have to remember, bombing Iran. So let's say that Iran have got nuclear weapons, or they're trying to make nuclear weapons, which they've said they've been trying to make it for ages. Whether they will or not, I don't know. That's besides the point. The reason America, the West, doesn't do stuff to like go in and help North Korea, go in and get boots on the ground in North Korea to liberate the people is because they have nuclear power. So there's a lot of countries in the Middle East right now that are like, if we had nukes, it would stop people from bombing us. If Iran had a nuke, if they legitimately had nukes and were like, look, here it is, yes, it would be against a lot of treaties, but they would prevent people from Israel bombing them. It would prevent them. And so you can see why they want to do it. You can see why they want these weapons. Do I think we should let them get to the point they have these weapons? No, of course not. I don't want anyone to have nukes. We don't want any of them to have them. No one. If the UK, if the US, if Russia, China, Israel, all of us, just no nukes. You're living in a better time. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And it does work as a deterrent, doesn't it? So I understand them having them. I also understand them, people trying to stop them from having them. I just don't want to see boots on the ground with lads again.
Israeli officials claim to have full control of the airspace without a single Iranian jet being scrambled in response because their air force is essentially non-existent.
Yeah.
For many years, the popular saying has always been that amateurs talk tactics while experts talk logistics. But now the line between logistics and tactics have been blurred. I think we're seeing the weaponization of transportation systems unlike anything we've seen before in military history. Let's talk about where Iran's air defense is at, because Iran started firing old school, antiquated anti-air flak into the sky. So it looks like a picture that wouldn't be out of place in World War II.
Yeah.
The most common type of anti-aircraft gun is the Zu-23 male cannon. Can fire 3 kilometers out, but Israeli fighter jets firing glide bombs fly higher than that and would be definitely out of range.
Yeah.
Iran claimed that they'd shot down 2 Israeli F-35s so far, though. So far, we haven't seen evidence yet. Let's be
If that was true, they would be plastering the images all over the internet. I guarantee it.
honest. Let's hear it. It's not mince words. This is, I think, theatrical. It's
Yeah.
for the Iranian leadership to make a show of force for their people on the ground who might not understand otherwise that this anti-aircraft flak fire is ineffective. But it's about it. Seeing flak instead of anti-air missiles going up into the sky is some visual evidence that air defense was destroyed by the Israeli ground sabotage. Iran claimed that they'd shot down 2 Israeli F-35s so far, though. So far, we haven't seen evidence yet. So far, all we've seen is one uncorroborated, fake, computer-generated AI image that has a combination of F-16, F-35, different parts that reveal that it's not real. But what about the battle?
That's the thing. We're going to get so much misinformation. And that's why, like I said, as a community, we need to stick together and look after each other here. And yeah, pictures like that, they're so obvious. We watch these videos all the time with military equipment. We can tell. If you're watching these videos, for the most part, you're pretty knowledgeable. We can tell that something like that's AI. There's a lot of information out there that we need to help each other with, okay, guys?
Damage assessment so far. Satellite and radar images are coming in immediately because there was no cloud cover. Initial information suggests they targeted about 25 of Iran's nuclear scientists. It appears like at least 6 of them were killed.
Wow.
Their whole high-up leadership was targeted, and at least 30 senior Iranian commanders have been killed so far.
Wow.
40 Iranian air defense systems have reportedly been destroyed since the start of the operation. Israel released multiple videos of Iran's ballistic missile launchers getting destroyed by their ground operators. This could explain why it took multiple volleys throughout the day for Iran to reach 150 missiles fired at Israel, when they normally fire them all at once. The commander of the Revolutionary Guard and military chief of staff were both confirmed dead by Iran themselves. Take a look at their military command structure to give you an idea of how devastating this has been for Iran.
Wow.
This is meant to create a leadership vacuum that made quick retaliation more difficult. What's escalated and different here compared to some of the attacks we've seen in the past is they targeted these generals and scientists at their residential homes in Iran. The Iranian government confirmed the deaths of these high-value leadership and that 78 people were killed, including over 320 wounded in the Israeli attacks.
I'm presuming that's civilians, the 78. That's not acceptable. It is not acceptable. I understand to them that getting these targets are probably more important than anything else, but I think this is the problem that Israel was having in Palestine, right? You're seeing cities completely leveled and them saying, well, we wanted to get Hamas, right? I get it. If you want to get Hamas, go in and get them. You don't have to level a whole city to get them, right? We don't want to see casual... Like this is why the world is slowly turning against it. Not slowly, quickly turning against Israel. Is because they go after their targets without any thought about the things that are around these targets, right? Saying that someone's got a human shield does not mean you have the right to just go and blow them both up anyway. The person you have to and the human shield. That you have to take it precisely. You have to understand what I think is this was an incredibly good success for Israel, right? However, if your troops are good enough to do stuff like this, your troops are good enough, your special forces are good enough to get these high priority individuals without taking out civilians. There's a better way. There's always a better way. We shouldn't be getting civvies caught in what is the game of people in higher positions with egos. And I don't care if you agree with me or not with that one, because as a soldier, as a former British Royal Marines commando, my priority was always protect. Always protect more than anything else. If it was to protect myself that I had to hurt someone else, then I'd do it. If it was to protect an individual that's being used as a human shield or kill someone else, you protect that person. It's always about protecting.
According to Iran, they claim the majority were civilians. So one of the things that stuck out to me as really interesting is what we're not seeing as much as what we are seeing.
Yeah.
It's shocking that we haven't seen or even heard from Hamas or Hezbollah, these proxy forces of Iran that in the past have been the type of forces that would launch attacks on Israel normally in a situation like this. And what about the Iranian retaliation so far? The fact that Iran is now targeting Israel's population centers and residential areas is an escalation compared to what we've seen in the past. A few apartment buildings were hit, and then another volley later on ended with Israel's military headquarters getting struck. It's called the Kiryat, which is like their version of the American Pentagon. A war correspondent on the ground in Israel, Trey Yingst, said, quote, "An entire block nearly completely destroyed, wiped off the map." So far, 150 Iranian ballistic missiles were fired, which is similar to past attacks that they've done on Israel before in terms of volume. At least 7 of the missiles avoided air defense interceptors and hit the ground and impacted.
That's the thing. Like, there's only so much Israel can do when it comes to countering these missiles. What I've heard, and again, I don't know whether this is 100% true. People can fact check me on this. I've heard that Iran has more missiles than Israel has anti-missiles. And so take that as it is. If that's the case, odds are not in the favor of Israel here. This Iron Dome is only going to last so far before it's penetrated. And if Iran does have the equipment to do it, I have no doubt that they will do it. If you're a civvy on the ground in Iran, in Israel, just get your family to safety. Don't get involved with these wars with people with egos.
Video evidence shows some of the missiles were intercepted, though. In the past, Iran only fired missiles at Israel's military bases. The attacks weren't that accurate because hitting a plane with a ballistic missile, hitting a plane-sized target is much more difficult than hitting, say, an entire city. So they were able to kill at least 3 Israeli citizens, and over 40 people were wounded, according to Israeli officials so far.
That's not good.
My personal assessment of the attack.
I don't care if it's one. It's not good enough. Civvies should not be getting caught up in this.
Far have been that Iran has been unable to inflict similar strategic blows to Israel so far compared to what they've received. This could change tomorrow. Israel began targeting Iran's economic sector, hitting their oil fields, which is something they haven't done in the past. It's an escalation that they said they would do if their population centers were hit. It's important to note this all started with what Israel calls their Begin Doctrine. Israel officially drew a line in the desert sand and made it policy, a principle, that they won't allow an enemy state to acquire nuclear weapons, and since then they've bombed Syria's nuclear reactor and now Iran's. So what has the American response been so far? 2 U.S. naval destroyers are assisting with shooting down Iran's missiles, alongside multiple American Patriot batteries that have been moved into position in recent months, as we've talked about, and THAAD anti-air launchers are also in position. This could explain why the U.S. diverted some 20,000 interceptors from Ukraine to go to the Middle East for U.S. troops instead a few weeks ago. It's confirmed that American fighter jets are now patrolling the skies in the Middle East region. They're now on station overhead, protecting U.S. troops and facilities. And I think
if you're a member of the U.S. military and you're out in that area, just keep your head screwed on. Just keep your head screwed on. Be well aware of what's going on. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're getting briefed. I'm sure they're getting intel on what's going on. But like the threats that they're making tonight, saying something big's going to happen, I am definitely thinking about a lot of the lads out there right now, a lot of the U.S. troops out there, lads and girls out there right now, and just hoping that they're able to get back home safe. As a former member of the military, they're always the people that's in my mind. Do you know what I mean? Because there's going to be people back in the US right now who have got sons, daughters, husbands, wives, mums, dads out there right now. And they're going to see these threats, which a lot of people will see as fluff. oh, Iran's making another threat of something big. To them, if that's their mum or their wife or their husband or sister or brother or son or daughter, to them, every single one of these threats adds to anxiety and worry and stress. So if you are out there, I don't know if anyone's out there, if maybe you're in the US military base in Bahrain, which I've been to, if you're hanging around there and you're watching this type of video, if you're able to give your family a text, just tell them you're safe, tell them you're okay, tell them that spirits are high, morale's high, and look after yourself, guys.
This is a major hint as to why Israel was even able to consider this attack. This is just my personal opinion, and you guys can tell me what you think, but it looks like to me that the type of targets that Israel went after here suggests that their goal was to weaken the entire Iranian government. If Israel doesn't have the military capability, the bunker-busting bombs necessary, the 30,000-pound variant of it, to completely destroy Iran's deeply buried nuclear program, then their best bet would be to delegitimize the Iranian government. Their best bet would be to take out senior leadership to show the world that Iran has no credible deterrence.
Yeah.
It's possible the diplomatic dance over the past few weeks has been tailored to the attack as well. We don't have confirmation on when the U.S. government knew these Israeli strikes were imminent, and we don't know if possibly the ongoing negotiations were used to provide a disguise to trick Iran in the final days into thinking that talks would continue into Sunday, because the top U.S. envoy to the negotiations had planned a 6th round of talks on Sunday. 6 rounds. Maybe if they'd gone to 12 rounds of talks, it would have resolved. 7 times the charm. Was Iran really building a nuclear weapon? Israel says they were creating a crude warhead.
The truth is, Israel's been saying that Iran's building nuclear weapons since like fucking when I was born, 1991. Like they've been saying it for years, haven't they? Maybe not that long, but they've been saying it for a very long time. So it's hard to take any credibility of what they say. It's hard to take much credibility if Trump says they have them, because we know he's been wrong in the past as well. It's hard if the UK government says they do, because these governments align with Israel. So they're going to just spout any information that Israel say. And so it's almost as if we need this information from an unbiased third party to say, look, they actually do have these weapons and something needs to be done about it, because it's hard to take anyone serious first and foremost, and it's hard to believe anything with the amount of crap out there right now with AI and fake news. So it's hard to make a justified opinion on whether they should go out there and do this or not. People like me and you, we could have an opinion or they were going to do it or they weren't going to do it. The truth is, if you're watching this sat at home in the UK, in America, in I don't know, anywhere in Europe, anywhere in the Western countries, in Australia even, New Zealand. If you're watching this and you're like, they were going to do it, you don't know that. If you're like, they weren't going to do it, you don't know that. We just don't know. We can have a good guess. The truth is, we do not know. What we do know is we don't want more civvies to die. We don't want more troops getting put in boots on the ground and getting killed unnecessarily. We don't want another war where we're going after weapons of mass destruction that weren't necessarily there, or they're like this ghost entity that some people say they were, some people said they were moved, some people say they were sold, some people say they weren't there at all. We don't want any of that shit. We don't want people dying unnecessarily. If they've got the weapons, they need to chill. They need to chill the fuck out, if that's the truth. We don't know the truth. If they don't have the weapons, none of this should be happening. Truth is, us civvies can talk and debate about it all we want, but we don't know.
Personally, if you ask me, I'm sorry, but I'm going to need more evidence than trust me, bro. Just because it wasn't true about Iraq 20 years ago.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean it's necessarily a CIA lie again today.
Exactly.
But I'm certainly going to need a whole lot more evidence if you want me to believe it today.
Yeah.
We know that the U.S.'s own intelligence assessments continue to say that Iran was not pursuing an active nuclear weaponization program as of now. How the heck did Israeli covert agents smuggle all those weapon systems into the country? Based on past Mossad operations, we know that foreign passports a lot of times are used from European countries so they can plant agents inside Iran. We know that in the 2010s, Mossad agents entered Iran as regular old business people, journalists, or aid workers, and they would build cover stories for years prior to going there.
Wow.
These agents are then used to coordinate local assets. So they'll find people inside Iran that are sympathetic to their cause or that hate the current regime. They provide on-the-ground recon, and they move the contraband drones and explosives over time, bit by bit. Previous covert actions used fake plumbing equipment, car parts, and appliances to smuggle in weapons.
It's impressive they were able to do that, and it's very impressive.
So they would disassemble the drones, the explosives, the launchers, and ship them separately. Then they would reassemble them in Iran.
Yeah.
Add to that the fact that tools like 3D printers mean they could create parts in the country easily.
Yeah.
Mossad has historically partnered with anti-regime ethnic minorities, like you got the Kurds in the northwest and the Balak rebels in the southeast. These groups control parts of the porous borders with Iraq, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Is there a threat of drone attacks of these type from deep inside American soil? Is that a serious concern? It's possible, yes. This threat is more likely a problem for America's military bases abroad, though.
Yes.
And personally, I think it could explain why we saw drones going near military bases in places like New Jersey. They may have been running training operations to see if they could defeat against this type of attack that was being planned all around the world.
Quite
Personally,
potentially.
I think it's kind of crazy how drones were able to in both Russia and Iran in just a matter of weeks. So
it is insane that both of these missions are very, very similar, at least the start of this one, and it happened so quickly. And I said it in that video when we were talking about the Russia-Ukraine thing. It's crazy how quickly things are changing when it comes to warfare. So crazy how quickly it's changing.
So I'm always curious, what is the U.S. Army doing about this massive change with drone warfare? If you're interested in learning about how the American recon teams are planning to use kamikaze drones to defeat China, you could check out this video that we made here. As always, if you want exclusive content, the full show notes and sources for this episode, you can find them on cappyarmy.com. Link in the description. Thank you again to Delete Me for sponsoring this episode. Greatly appreciate their support, and we encourage you to check them out as well. Thank you guys for watching. I'm your average infantryman, Chris Cappy, ending transmission now.
Great video, as always, by Chris over at Cappy Army. One of the best channels on YouTube. Link down below if you want to go check that out. I'd love to know your opinion. After seeing the discussions in the last video yesterday, I've been very impressed. And we've got some very knowledgeable people within this community, and I love to see them comments. I don't necessarily reply to every comment, but what I do is if you see a heart on the comments, I do read it. Obviously, what I usually do is I've got 24 hours of reading them comments before I'm moving on to the next video because I make daily videos. So it is hard for me to keep up. But for the most part, if you see a heart on your comment, I've probably read it. And yeah, I'm open to see more discussions, comments, and building this community, our original humans, so we can hold ourselves accountable. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Check out Morale. If you want to get yourself one of these, go to drinkmorale.com, sign up so you can be notified as soon as they go live for sale, because as soon as they've been sent out to the backers on Kickstarter, you will be able to buy one as well. Support the channel, support Morale, support the drink, which will also be out very soon. Also, check out Chug, 10% off, link down below if you want a drinking vessel that will last a lifetime. Other than that, I love you all. Stay safe. Kiss your family goodnight. Tell them you love them. Give them some hugs. Enjoy yourself. Stay safe. Keep your head screwed on, and I'll see you next time.